Whoa. Welcome back to Conversations, where we share my connections, stories, and key learnings in hopes of giving back to the next generation. If you like what we put together today, please like, comment, subscribe to show your support. Let's roll. Welcome back to Conversations. I'm here with former middleweight champion of the world, the pride and the heart and soul of Youngstown, Kelly Pavlik. Thanks for joining me today,
thank
Kelly.
You guys.
And equally as important, one of my best friends, mentor, my brother, Luke LaPresta. Thank you for joining me, Luke.
Great to see you.
Good to see you too, my man.
So I want to kick this thing off, Kelly. You know, for me, a lot of people ask me, like, what are you doing going to Youngstown looking for Kelly Pavlik, right? And you look online and you see the BB gun and all that shit going on. And for me, you know, I just want to kind of explain what I found. You know, I found somebody that's here in this community that's given his heart and soul to these kids and trying to build something that's truly special and incredible. Mm-hmm. I found a guy that answered the phone at his own gym. When I told my boys that back home, it was like, it hit me. And I wanted to acknowledge you for that. You have a lot to be proud of.
He called me at night and said, I called the gym. I'm talking to this guy about, hey, can I come and talk to him? And it turns out it's Kelly. He answered the phone at his own gym.
Couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That is class all the way.
It is. You know, a big part of that is, first of all, if you want something done, you kind of got to do it yourself. But not only that, I've never, even when I won the world title, you guys are going to kick out of this one. When I won the world title, I think it was literally the day I got home. I got home the next day from Atlantic City. And of course, in the paper, you know, I put in my purse, what I made, this, that, blah, 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 blah. I go into Walmart because I don't think anything of it. Like, yeah, I won it and I got new trophies at home in my case, right? Yeah. That's how I looked at it. Like, I accomplished what I set out for as a kid. And I got nice big trophies for it, right? But I'm going about my day as usual. So where do I go? Walmart. I walked into Walmart and these people are looking at me and one guy goes, what the hell are you shopping here for? And I'm like, and then it hit me. I'm going, oh, I'm not allowed to shop here no more. Right? 3 days ago when I wasn't champ, it was cool. You know what I mean? And then, but I've always been like that. Like, and a lot of people, a lot of celebrities or former world champions are like me. In their hometown, they're around. They're to be seen. Just people on the outside don't see them. And here in Youngstown, I never took that as, I never wanted to change the way I am. You know what I mean? If there's a bargain, I'm going to go there. If there's, Walmart, I don't care if I made, $200 million. Like, why would I go spend something? I worked my ass off for that $200 million. Yeah. You know, why would I go? What's wrong with going to Walmart? I
wanted to share this too because I'll tell you, I had a moment recently where I met Dwight from The Office at the airport. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I was, can't say I was too excited, but I had people that worked for me that were very excited, right? And he was an ass to me. Wouldn't take it really just messed with me. And so when you answered that phone, it was like refreshing, and I don't ever lose that because I thought that was special. But I read this online. It said, at 1 a.m., Kelly left the dressing room with his father and paramedic at his side. So this is after the Taylor fight. Mm-hmm. As they walked to a waiting ambulance, Kelly was approached by several fans who wanted to stop and pose with them for photos. Each time he complied. Good fight, one of the fans said. Actually, it wasn't so good, Kelly responded. Mm-hmm. And I think that moment right there, man, with everything you'd see online or you'd hear, like, that's who Kelly Pavlik is. And I wanted to use the opportunity to be able to share that today. I've got a handful of questions for you. Before I get rolling, I got two things for you. I'm an Oregon boy. I did live here in Youngstown for a very short period of time with your cousin Luke. But I'm an Oregon boy. So I got two gifts for you. The first one, these are Pendleton gloves. And these are fighters' gloves, man. You can put the hands through there. And then I got two. This is somebody that's helping us out with the show. They opened a kombucha company. I don't know if you've ever had kombucha, but this is a kombucha company, and he specifically said, go take this to Kelly.
Got to try to get some good probiotics in me.
Probiotics, right? Yeah. So I want to give you that as well. You can try it out.
Okay. This is like a recovery one.
It's a recovery one. This is wellness water. It's not kombucha. But the owner told me, hey, it's great for fighters, and I just wanted to share that with you.
You got the medicinal mushrooms, I see.
It's great
I'm
stuff.
into that stuff. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I don't do none of it. I eat pizza and chicken wings, but I researched the shit out of it, right?
So, and just to get to it, Kelly, tell me about your gym, your mission, and really what you're up to here.
Got the gym in Columbiana. It was a business op. after I retired, I was done with boxing. I really didn't want, and there's a lot of fighters that are like that, you know, it's just the business part of it, the grind. I trained my butt off. Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
I trained my ass off.
Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, you don't have to celebrate it. But, you know, I did. I worked and then I say around 2015, you know, you start getting bored. And then when you have too much time on your hand, you find stupid ways to get in trouble and all that. And I was getting a little too old for that crap. And, you know, I talked to my financial advisor and I was like, I kind of want to get back into the gym. I've been in gyms, you know, whether it's strength conditioning, boxing. I've been in gyms since I was 9 years old. So my former personal trainer, Rocky Fitness, he was getting sick and he had a gym in Columbiana and he ended up moving out west. He wanted to sell the gym. So we went through everything and it was just like, yeah, it makes sense. You know, I want to buy the gym and buy new equipment and redecorate and reconstruct the whole gym. So we did that and it was fun. And then I started getting into the strength and conditioning. I've always been a student of the game, whether it was through boxing, strength conditioning. And what I mean by that is when my personal trainers, and I've had some great ones even out west, when they would do the strength conditioning, I was always just taking in everything from what he was doing. If they said, do this, I say, well, why? What does it work? What does this do? And then I would when YouTube got big a handful of years ago, I would research the difference between athletes. Like I'm a big fan of, and a lot of people disagree with me, but athletes have evolved. And so the way you train them, you have to change the training. You know, the days of, you know, I think I told you guys earlier, go lift heavy weights and shit like that. It's not about that no more. You know, the speed of the game, the way everything has advanced is different. And it's facts, the numbers show. So I started applying that. I started doing strength conditioning with some of the members there. And then I hired somebody on because I just didn't have the time. I was doing a podcast. Well, all while doing that, I wanted to start this charitable program. All right. And this started probably about 2018. I was putting together this charitable program. And it started off with boxing. And as we were sitting around going over it, I had an attorney, a buddy, a partner, business partner I got right now for, I got another business, sports testing throughout the country, where it's like the combines, you test the 40-yard dash, verticals, all that. We were sitting down with the attorney and we go, well, you know what? That's great, but you may not get the grants and the funding for just boxing alone because not that many kids box. So to me, the idea was if you could get kids off the streets for 2 hours a day, right? That 2 hours, even after school, is a big difference in a kid getting in trouble. Well, then it went to, how about strength and conditioning? Because there's football players, they're not going to want to box. You got baseball, this, that. And so we started like talking about putting that together. And then it was, are we going to target the at-risk youth and underprivileged? And then it went from that to, because I have kids in Columbiana that don't quite fit the underprivileged, but parents don't have $250 to $300 a month to pay for strength conditioning. So how do I tell that kid, you guys do a little too well for this program? You know what I mean? So we put it all together and it was just, let's make this program for 4th through 12th grade free to the kids. We'll put boxing in one location, which is going to be here, and we'll have the strength conditioning. So that was good, and we were getting ready to send off our to get tax exempt, and then we decided that, well, how about we add tutoring for these kids and the counseling services for these kids? You know, might as well do this if we're going to do it. And everything I do, I go hard at. You know what I mean? And it's an ego thing, but that something like that is only going to benefit the kids, because the better I want this organization to do, the more it's going to benefit these kids. I want these kids to say, you know what, I haven't been in JJC for 5 years. I want a kid to come up and say, you know what, I was a failing student, I'm getting A's and B's. I want the football player to get a D1 scholarship. I want another world champion. You know, those are my goals, and I'm going to push these kids the right way and make sure that they're doing the right things. So then we put that together, and then we threw a couple other things in, like after school meal program because a lot of kids will be coming from school, nothing to eat. Transportation for most of these kids, which we're still working on. And then there will be a senior program because it's a community thing. And you got a lot of senior citizens out there that, as you see in this area, it's not like it used to be. So there's not many things for senior citizens to do either. And if there is, most of them got to pay if they don't have good insurance or if they're not involved in a silver sneakers. So I want something like that, but that's down the road. The kids right now is one of the bigger things, and getting this whole program put together. We're pretty deep into it. I got 35 kids here, 30 to 35 kids boxing. I got 40 some kids out in Columbiana, a waiting list for kids to get on that. So, I think it's going to be pretty big to see this through.
Talk about the long-term vision and the seniors. I mean, your dad, you said, is 72 now.
Yeah, yep.
My mom's 77, and you're right. There's not a lot for them to do, and they're on fixed incomes in many cases. Mm-hmm. So even just the transportation piece, I can tell you for my mom, if it's more than a mile from the house, she probably ain't going. Yeah. So that's a big thing, and it creates socialization, which is so important for them.
For longevity and quality, absolutely. And we know as younger guys, I mean, we're in our 40s, but we know, like, when you go a period of time of not talking to people, you get stir crazy, absolutely. You get bored, you get depressed, anxiety, and just being able to get them out, like you said, they've done research on that, socializing and getting out in the environment and being around people, that it helps on quality and longevity in life. And I do want to add that, because a lot of older people, they don't go travel far from home. They get anxiety. If they go too far, they feel they have to get back home or something ain't right. And getting them out and about again is a big part. And I do want to incorporate that and put it into my charitable. Like I said, I think we have to, it's tough. A charitable program to run it, especially the way that I picture it to be, there's just a lot. I mean, I've had politicians that are trying to help. You run into lobbyists, you run into the local, state government, just staying busy yourself, trying to get it going, fundraisers and donations.
I wanted to ask you, have you ever thought about, maybe doing, I know you've clearly retired, but have you ever thought about lacing them up for charity to try to maybe fund a project like this? Because I look at guys like Jake Paul. Mm-hmm. You'd kick the shit out of Jake Paul and be the greatest.
Yeah. So,
kick the shit out of Jake. Yeah.
I know. Right now, I could probably take my out of shape ass into that ring and beat Jake Paul.
Big money on the line.
But here's the whole thing. So, like, I just hung out with Logan Paul a couple years ago when he fought Ben Askren, and they're nice. They're nice off camera. They show respect to me, knowing that I'm an Ohio guy, former champion. The big thing on that is, listen, that's a good question. I have guys right now, and they're pretty nice. They're part of the bare knuckle fight game, and they're trying to get me back into the ring to do it. But as I think I told you guys before we started doing the filming, it's a brutal sport. I feel like I was fortunate to get out when I did, and we don't know the long term, even down the line, what could happen from this or how much trauma has been caused and damage. You take a fight with a Logan or a Jake Paul or anyone, if I'm going to go back out there with probably millions of people watching, you're going to want to look good. Well, how are you going to look good being 42 years old and not doing anything for over a decade? Well, you got to go back in the ring and spar and practice. Well, what comes along with that? Getting hit in the head.
The time commitment.
Listen, if I was like some of the other athletes where I was really in a bind financially or something like that, and I had young family, that's different. I'm in a situation now where I've done well enough to be able to get this charity going with my own funds, open this gym right now with my own funds, and run another business and be able to do stuff like that. And I think, I don't want to bite off more than I could chew, or the man upstairs has blessed me with being in the situation I am. I would feel selfish and taking advantage of what happened, you know.
I'll tell you, like, this is what, from my perspective, this is what makes you the champ. Like, this is the thing that I would be most proud of, and I can tell you are. It's incredible.
And don't get me wrong,
personally in the ring on a Friday night, knowing you got young kids too, your wife is here. I got to be honest, like, man, I've always looked up to you, admired you, loved you from afar when I was out of town. Watching that tonight was, I mean, it'll be a memory for the rest of my life.
Well, thanks,
truly,
man.
Like, you're an amazing man.
This show is sponsored by Soma Kombucha. Kombucha is a probiotic drink filled with healthy bacteria that works in your digestive system to support a healthy and happy and vibrant life. What sets Soma apart is that it has billions more probiotics than other brands. It is naturally carbonated and naturally sweet because of the proprietary slow fermentation process that produces fructose without spiking blood sugar, like traditional white sugar. Soma is Portland's favorite kombucha, having won Best Kombucha several times. Use code CONVERSATIONS today to support our mission at somakombucha.com. The link is in the description below. Now back to the show.
I asked you this earlier, but I want to just, ask you again. Do you have interest? I mean, are you excited about the possibility of identifying and developing the next world champion from Youngstown?
The next you.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, egos is a big thing. You run into that a lot, and I've seen it with some people around. I'm not, mentioning any names. Yeah, I would love to see another me. For a while there, I wish it would have happened earlier, so the spotlight wasn't on me no more, right? But yeah, that's the whole goal of this. Like, I'm in it. I did what I did. I accomplished and became a world champion, right? I have nothing else to prove. I don't, and I really didn't do it for anybody else. We can get deep in this convo. People talk about athletes a lot. Athletes, I would say 98%, if I was to guess, and I think I'm pretty close, come from poverty, but you always hear, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you always hear they need to give back. I think an athlete's the last person that needs to give back. They're the ones that when they say give back, it's not meaning that they have to, it's just charity donation. But I always feel like, well, everybody could. Whatever your salary is, take a percentage of that, just like you want the athlete. Nobody's there for athletes when they're coming up, right? They walk to practice, they walk to school, they do all this stuff on their own. There ain't nobody there. The only time anybody comes around is when there's that possibility of them becoming a megastar is reality. Then everybody starts floating around and wants to help then when it's too late, right? So being a part of this with these kids, like I did my thing, and where I'm going with that is I don't have to go out there now and try to prove something, right? I'm not going out there to live a dream through one of these kids, or to make anything or give, or I'm not giving back. I don't look at it like that. When somebody tells me I'm giving back, I feel like I have to, and that takes the fun away from doing it, right? I mean, I'm going to do, if I'm donating to charity, if I'm doing this, which I've done thousands of charities that went under the radar because I didn't want the news or anybody there. I didn't want the publicity from it. And the minute when somebody says you got to give back, or thanks for giving back, it kind of takes the fun out of it for me, because then it feels like it's expected. But I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. And with that being said, being in a situation that I was in as a world champion, there is no one goal. Yes, I want to be a trainer of champions, and that drive will help my athletes. But it is all about the kid, the fighter. Very rarely as a boxing coach will you hear me say we, okay? And to some people it might be like, well, why is he saying him? Because even though I'm a trainer, and yes, we are a team, right? I'm not out there getting punched anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not out there eating, or I'm not out there starving while, my trainer is eating donuts. So there is, when you're in this ring, and as a former fighter, I know this. I know this from experience. They get hit with a body shot and they can't breathe and they can't feel their ribs or their butthole closes. You know what I mean? or you get hit and you don't know where you're at the next day. And I'm not doing that no more. My fat ass is sitting on the couch eating pizza and donuts while you run, okay? Or sitting in my car blowing the horn for you to run faster. So yes, it is a team, but at the end of the day, it's that individual. Yep. You know what I mean? It's that kid, and I won't take that credit, and I don't deserve that credit because I'm not doing it anymore. You know what I mean? So where I'm going again with this is, yes, I would love, my whole goal, as I mentioned earlier, is to better my athletes, my student athletes, and these kids' lives. And if it's, I'm not a huge fan. I don't think boxing's for everybody. But if a kid really has the ability to become a world champion and he has nothing to really fall back on, yes, go make yourself a good living, set your family up, and I'll do my best to make sure that he's safe as possible, right? And that he comes out of that sport healthy. If it's my football, baseball, basketball, I'm going to hope if they don't make it to the NFL or the NBA or Major League, that they get a scholarship and they get their degree and they're able to make it in the work field. And that kids stay out of trouble. That's the whole goal of this program. They usually say, as long as you can reach one kid, well, my drive is different. And I'm going to try to reach more than one kid, and it's not a cliche. It's not here blowing smoke up your guys' butt. That's really my goal. Like, it's a drive, and every time I do something, I see it through. And that is the goal that I have eventually. Right now, I get a little frustrated because I'm in the beginnings of this program, and I'm working as much as I can to get them going. But eventually, I want the best equipment in here for them. I want to be able to have the right help to be able to spend a little bit more time than what I am right now with these kids, just to make sure that they are going. And it's hard to find somebody that's going to listen to me. I bring in a strength conditioning coach or a guy to help with boxing. All of a sudden, they get through that door, they know boxing more than me, and they're showing the kids. Strength conditioning coach knows more on that. They're doing their thing. So it's hard for me to even bring people in. You almost got to do like a big screening, and you almost got to have a agreement that, like, I will not do my own thing with your fighters or your athletes. So it's tough. It really is, and it's a lot of work. I'm spread very thin right now, but my family's been supportive. They're behind it. They're in it as much as I am.
It's cool seeing your wife here today, too.
Yeah, it is. My son, I'm still able, the good thing with this project is I can still set my own times. I'm able to get to his games and get him in here or to the other gym. So we'll see how, everything right now, we're going to see how this turns out. I think it's going to be a big project, and I think it's going to be a great project.
I wanted to read you, Kelly. So one of the questions, I actually came out here originally to sit with Luke. And as a mentor of mine, he's got a lot to offer that we're going to give back through a conversation with him. But one of the questions I asked him was like, what was that moment like seeing, somebody that become world champion? And he wrote me this. He said, a large number of us piled into my dad's living room to watch his championship fight. He nearly knocked out Jermain earlier in the fight, and I remember being flushed with emotions and fear for him. Then, like the champion he is, he dug deep inside and found a way to get back in the fight and ultimately knock Jermain out. We erupted with joy, pride, and emotion, hugging, crying, and jumping up and down. It was an amazing time to be alive. And, I wanted to ask you, did you realize you made that impact on Youngstown? And then as a follow-up, what's your relationship like with Youngstown today?
Yeah, that's deep, and I'm very appreciative and always have been. No. It's hard to explain. And no is not with the Youngstown. I'll get to that part of it. The first question. You win it, you won the world title, right? And you see, like in the fight, if you go back and watch, I run to the corner. Yeah, right then and there, like I just accomplished a goal, right? But you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, people call you champ right after the fight, and I'm champ. But the reality, and it's hard to explain, if somebody that's been there, they'll kind of understand. It don't kick in, and sometimes it kicks in at the right time when it's supposed to. For, I would say, the first 3 years while I held the belts, I would, walk out of my parents' house. I never kept belts at my house. It just attracted people. They do stupid shit for belts.
Yep.
And they're not my belts anymore. The minute I won those belts, I had my daughter, a family. Those are theirs. To this day, those are not my belts. They're going to be theirs. And I probably only got one lineage of that. And then after that, the great grandkids, and they won't care. They'll probably sell them or something, but that's how it goes. But I think it was like 3 years after. And all the times I'd walk past and see those world championship belts on the mantle, it was like, and I would go on about my business. You know what I mean? And then I think it was, I was getting ready to retire, and I walked past them and I stopped. Like I literally stopped, and I was just like, wow. There was 3 of them up there. There was the 2, and then you had the ring belt, which is not a world title belt, but if you have the ring belt, you are the champ. Like, not many people have that. And it was a moment in time where I just sat back and I was like, and it kind of kicked in. It really did. And then after I retired, when you start going these fights and you watch them live, and it's like, and you look at the people in there and you're like, I was in there and I was winning world titles against undisputed middleweight champions. And these were the amount of people that was cheering me on. And then you really start grasping it. And when you do these stories, for instance, like I said, with that thing about the second, or when the fans came up to me and I was like, well, I didn't like the way it went.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't at first. For like the first 10 years, a decade, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't want to talk about the second round. If I watched the fight, guess what I wasn't watching? The second round. Mm-hmm. And now at 41 years old, if that second round didn't happen, that is not one of the greatest middleweight fights of all time. So now you learn to embrace it and go, wow, thank God in a weird way for that second round, because if that second round don't happen, it's just another middleweight fight for a championship. Yeah. But what made that fight what it was, the magnitude, was me getting dropped, me getting up. And now I see, like, all over social media, I'll get tagged in it, like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Now they got the Rocky music and they're just showing that fight. It seems like over and over and over. And again, I would have, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have watched it. Now, when I scroll past it and I see it and they're playing that music, I'm kind of like, you got the Rocky music. I get it. I get it now, yeah, so that's a big part. It takes some time for it to really set in. Everything's a whirlwind. You go from training and running in your neighborhood to being at events, seeing sick kids, seeing elderly people sick, to being called on for that, to going to meet LeBron James and speaking to the Ohio State team before the Michigan game, which are all great things, and there's some bad things that you have to do, and not bad, but things that you don't want to see. It hurts, and your life is a whirlwind. It's, you're just all over. And you don't have time to really sit back and realize what you just accomplished. And when you get old enough and you sit down and you got the time, you learn to appreciate it. As far as the Youngstown people, yeah, the one thing with Youngstown is, I'm just going to call it Bluebird Blue. A lot of them are quick to, it don't take much. And it's quick for them to, say stuff. But on the flip side, I can honestly say this, that there is nowhere in the world, and I can honestly say that, do you have your true and loyal fans. Nobody's as good as Youngstown. The fans that I had that came to them fights, the fans that I have that are from Youngstown still to this day, that come by or write me or message me or text me, are by far the best fans that you could possibly have from anywhere. And that's one thing about Youngstown. Like, it is a tough, gritty, if that's a word, cruddy town. And it's, and they know what the hard work is. They know, when somebody does something big from the area, that they're behind it no matter what, through thick and thin. And you will not, like I said, you will not see that. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, Columbus, California. There's not a better group of fans than what you get in Youngstown, and that's what I still love about it. And it's great.
Was there a voice in your head when you got knocked down? Whose voice was it, and what were they telling you?
No, it was the people. Yeah, there was a voice, but it was a weird knockdown. It was one of the knockdowns where your legs are gone, and you know it, but mentally you're there. There's different types of knockdowns, and fortunately I've never tasted all the different types of knockdowns. There's only been one. But sometimes people get hit and they're just out of it. They're gone, right? Even if they have their legs, mentally they're gone. They don't know where they're at. Mine was kind of the opposite. I could pick the voices out in the crowd. I could literally tell you who it was, you know, from my corner and who was screaming what. And the legs were kind of shaky. And then my head, honestly, the only thing that I said to myself, because the first round, and that's why I got dropped. The first round went so easy that I was starting to get a little cocky. You know what I mean? The beginning of that second round was going so easy that I was kind of getting a little cocky. Then, boom, I got hit. And I remember just saying to myself, like, man, you worked way too hard. Way too hard to go out like this. And it's just deeper than that. Like, it was the 7 years of when other guys were getting their TV time and stuff like that, and I wasn't. After 7 years of being pro and having the record that I did, it was just like all that hit. It was like, ain't no way, like I'm going out. And survived, you know. I kept holding on. You know, I see a lot of things like, if that fight was today, they would have stopped it. No, they don't. There's a lot of fights. There's guys dying in a ring because of fights going, you know, the distance. I grabbed him. I locked up. I punched on the clinches, which was showing the referee that I'm there, that I'm with it. And even when I did fall off balance, I would underhook Jermain, grab him, and hit him in the ribs. And I knew if I could get out of that round, I knew 100%. Now, again, I'm not just saying it. If I got out of that round, I knew I was going to win the fight. I knew the fight was mine because Jermain is known to fade in the later rounds. I knew my conditioning. I'd throw 90-some punches around. I know my power. I just knew the fight was mine if I could get out of that second round. And my whole thing when I got up was survive, like hold, do whatever you got to do, you know, and that's what I did.
Nice. You become champion of the world, right? And to me, like any success that I achieve or any special moments, like I think about having my boys and my family with me, right? Like there's a reason that Ben's here today. There's a reason Luke's here today. This started out just me and you.
Yeah.
But I want to experience that with people that I love. Can you tell me about what that was like coming back to Youngstown? You're the world champion and you got your friends and your family. What was that experience like?
Oh, it's that's what you want. You know what I mean? Like, anytime I do something, you know, the ones they tell you what, like your significant other or your kids, that's how you know it's the right one, right? Like they're the right ones because that's big things in your life that happen or accomplishments or just downtime. The ones you want to talk to about or want to get home and you're in a hurry to talk to them about is your loved ones, you know, your significant other, your kids. So having that around me and surrounding me was huge. You know what I mean? I didn't just sit and do that for me. What good is it if I just win something and I just walk around by myself like, oh yeah, right?
Yeah.
Nobody cares, you know, and it's not, and it wasn't for the popularity, right? It's not, it was kind of cool. It was a little added thing. And like I said, you get a lot of perks out of it, but
we got some free gear today, by the way, when we told them we were interviewing the Ghost. Who was that?
Yeah.
We got to give him a shout out.
Youngstown Clothing Company hooked us up with a hat and he told us to tell you hello.
He didn't give you one of those beautiful t-shirts that I got?
Ben bought one.
Ben bought one. He sold out.
He sold out.
One left and Ben bought it.
You got it.
He bought it.
That's good. Yeah.
Look how little he is.
Yeah, they fit good. They'll show off all your muscles. Yeah. I can't wear them. It shows off other things other than my muscles.
He said he's got a new batch coming because we were like, dude, please check that. He's like, that's the last one.
No, it's cool. Matt's a great guy. I love the company he got.
Final question. And to me, this was probably the coolest thing about our interaction. When I reached out to you, we had a conversation pretty quickly. But you talked about, hey, Saturday. I'm not going to be available Saturday. I got to go watch my daughter play basketball. I've got an 11-year-old girl. I've got a 4-year-old girl. I'm very, very passionate about my kids. I want to just give you an opportunity. Like, who's Kelly the father? I don't know that anybody's ever heard about Kelly the father.
No, I've always, my family's pretty they like to stay under the radar. You know, my wife never was, oh, God, I got to tell you a funny story about that. Well, she's here too, guys. So so I got to tell you a funny story. And I dare you to turn the camera on. So
she made us proud.
Yeah. So she never wanted to be on a camera. HBO, documentary, Sports Time Ohio, Showtime, on and on. And my PR guy at the time was like, hey, they want to get her on. I was like, she's not going to go on the camera, dude. Like, she don't do it. I go, and I'm like, a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, here's what we do. Just show up. Just show up to the house, bring the cameras in. We'll get her on. She can't say no. We did that. We go to the house, open up the door, camera that comes in, camera crew. Oh man, if looks could punch, I would have been. It would have been worse than a Taylor knockdown. Yeah, it would have been worse. But yeah, that was crazy, man. But so my kids, my grandmother, you know, the LaPrestas, you know, she had that mentality. She used to always tell me, don't put your kids out there, you know, don't put them out here. You know, you got crazy people in the world. Don't show them. Don't, you know, now you're a champion, this, that. And it kind of always, you know, stuck with me too. So like even my social media, my kids didn't, if they weren't old enough to say, hey dad, put my picture on social media, then I wasn't doing it. There's just some things, you know, that's us. And now my kids, they're old enough and they have their own social media and they're out there, right? And everybody knows. So, yeah, that was a big part of it, you know, just things like that of being around and keeping everything that's ours. But that for me on that part of it, keeping my kids, my family, you know, out of it was, I just didn't want to do that. And, but they're big supporters. My son actually the other night just was like, I want to watch the fight. You know, can we put the Miranda fight on? And I'm going, oh, for the 9,000th time. And, we watched it again, you know, my daughter. So yeah, and being involved with them and the sports, I train them, you know, I do the strength conditioning. And my son, you know, when he was younger, and that goes back to this. I didn't push him in sports. Not knocking other parents that do with their kids, but a lot of parents, you know, they didn't go to that level. And I get it, you know, like people are big sports fans, and one way or another, they want to, whether it's them or their kids, they want to be a part of something like that.
Right. Live vicariously.
Yeah. And this ain't bragging, it's just the truth. Like, well, I did it, you know what I mean, at the highest level. And so I didn't, you know, it was never to a point of like, let's be realistic, I'm a straightforward guy with sports. It's hard for, you know, D1 scholarships. It's hard for NFL. It's hard for, you know, if you're not going to be, it falls on my fault a little bit, if you're not going to be 6'8", you know, 300 pounds or a lineman or 6'8" and could shoot lights out 3-pointers, you know, NBA is pretty slim. So my son didn't pay, and I wasn't going to be the person to like, you're going to go play football, you know, you're going to go play basketball. I would kind of put sports on, start off like that, you know, we'll watch it. The kids kind of like follow what their dad is doing. You know, I have a daughter and a son, so he didn't have I had older brothers, siblings. I followed them and my dad, right? My son didn't have it. And then he came into his own, I would say right around 4th, 5th grade. I wanted to start playing sports, you know, really got into it. And not only did he want to start playing sports, I got lucky. He was curious. Like, I just don't want to do baseball. I want to do football now. Oh, I just don't want to do football. I want to do basketball. And it was kind of tough. We had, you know, a lot of catching up to do, but he was a good athlete, not, you know, good natural ability, kind of caught on quick. Still to this day, he's only a freshman, and compared to the other kids that were playing, you know, Pee Wee sports and stuff, he's catching up quick to them. And yeah, so as far as, again, with all that, the family, yeah, you know, the support is great. I love going back, sharing everything with them, but we all kind of had our own little ways of how we wanted it to be, the exposure.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
I think that's the right way.
Yeah.
That's how I was with my kids. Good, bad, in between, no judgment to anybody, but
yeah,
Let them figure out what they want.
Exactly.
Who they want to be.
Yep. When they want to be here, when they want to be put here, what they want to play. Even to this day, I wish my daughter, a good athlete, great athlete. My daughter, I think she more so got involved with sports just to be on the social part of it. Like,
Right.
I want to talk with my friends. I want to, hang out. So-and-so is playing. And she did good. Soccer.
That's a big part of sports.
Mm-hmm.
The social environment.
It is.
The team camaraderie of sports. Whether you're the superstar on the team or the person that never gets a minute on the floor.
Yep.
The value of that camaraderie, it translates.
It's like a brother. It's a big brotherhood. Yeah, exactly.
So I forgot one question. That's the final one, but it's an important one.
You're up there, my man.
I'll be real fast.
10K.
It's important. So I told you about my buddy.
We get about 10 more bags in here.
So I told you my buddy that played and owned a BB gun himself, but ended up going into the NBA. Got
I still
a big
want
contract.
my back. I'm still mad about that. That was a good BB gun.
Never give it back?
No. Probably pawned it off or sold it. I think it had like 1,300. It traveled like 1,300 feet per second.
But I told my buddy, I said, hey, I'm going to go sit with Kelly Pavlik. And I said, I think you two, he's from a small town. He's the hero where we're from. Pride and joy of Medford, Oregon, right? Okay. And he recently left the NBA. And, when I told him, I said, I'm going to go sit with Kelly Pavlik. I said, I bet you two have gone through some of the same things in terms of leaving a sport you've given your life to. And his response to me in text was just, we never leave the ring. And I want to ask you, what does that mean to you? And do you have any advice that I could take back to him? He's 2 years out of the league. I think he's kind of in the space of figuring it out. Yeah. I just wanted to ask you that.
Well, chances are his whole life has been pretty much that, right? You just don't go into the NBA by picking up a basketball your college season. Probably a lot of time, those NBA players, once you get there, they practice even more. Once you're there, you want to stay there. Well, now you're in a league of all elites, okay? That's a lot of time, a lot of commitment. Getting out, I hate to say it, it's not much advice, but he has to find what makes him, what he wants to do. It's going to be a different road. Me personally, the first 2 years, I was like, I'm done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I don't regret it one bit. But there will come a period of time where you're like still young and you're going to go, I got to do something, and he's going to probably want to do something that revolves around that. Same with me. For as tired as I was of boxing and done with it, a part of me almost had to kind of go back to it. I can say if I owe somebody something, I hate boxing, but I love boxing. And I feel like I kind of owe boxing a little bit too, because let's be honest, I probably wasn't going to become a scientist. I probably wasn't going to become a doctor, right? Wasn't going to become a lawyer. And I'd done very well because of that sport.
It's a good perspective.
It has. If that sport wasn't there, my life would be totally different. So as some part of me, I feel like I do owe the sport a little bit. Was it tough? Was it hard? Is there your downs? Is there backstabbers and all that? Absolutely. But again, too, there was a lot of great that came out. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. When you hear the term about boxing, the loneliest sport, it's absolutely the loneliest sport. It's you out there. And, he's probably going to go back to what he loves doing. I would say, find some other investments too, aside from the main one, because you may not get an NBA coaching job. You may not get a college coaching job. You may get a high school. No matter how much, if you make $100 million, you got to still be bringing something in, to doing that. Sit down with a financial advisor. I'm sure he already has, find different investments on the side that could keep his money growing. And he has to find something that he loves doing, something that keeps him busy aside from the investments. And that's the biggest advice. And if it's back to coaching, the high school, college, MBA, starting a charitable organization, listen, it's work. It's fucking work, man. It's tough. And when I did it, I was like, our man over here is probably saying battery's dying. I thought it was simple. I thought it was like, I'm going to go get this set up and we're going to get funds and it's going to be like, and there's a lot of guidelines. You got to make sure you're doing everything by the book, especially me here in Youngstown. You got to make sure it's done by the book, and it's a lot of work. But something like that for him, he could put together a nice program. He could evolve the basketball because so many more kids play basketball. He's got the AAU. You got all these different leagues that are out there for high school and college basketball that he could get involved in. That's what I would suggest. At the end of the day, he has to find what he's comfortable with and what he likes doing once he's done, because how old is he? Our age?
He's like 35.
He's a young man still.
Yep.
He's got to have something to fall back on and something to keep him moving. So long as he's able, he got the time. I don't know if he has a family or whatnot, but as long as he's able to do things where it's on his time, but he's still busy and he's enjoying it and he gets to spend time with the family. That's it, man. Got to put whatever in here and what keeps him ticking.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, I just want to thank you so much again for your time today. Luke, appreciate you joining us, my man.
Luke, thanks, brother.
And
thank you, man.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with some more exciting guests. If you like what you saw today, please like, comment,
what do you mean more
and
exciting,
subscribe.
What do you mean more exciting guests?
Well, I got Boom Boom coming. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh.